The Crusades, a series of religious wars that unfolded over centuries, represent a complex and often brutal chapter in human history. Driven by a potent blend of religious fervor, political ambition, and economic aspirations, these expeditions to the Holy Land and beyond left an indelible mark on both Europe and the Middle East. While the initial impetus was the reclamation of sacred sites from Muslim control, the Crusades evolved into a multifaceted phenomenon, with far-reaching consequences that continue to resonate in the modern world. At their core, the Crusades were fueled by a powerful wave of religious zeal that swept across Western Europe. The idea of a holy war, sanctioned and even encouraged by the papacy, offered the promise of spiritual merit and the defense of Christendom against perceived infidels. The capture of Jerusalem by the Seljuk Turks in the late 11th century ignited a sense of outrage and a fervent desire to restore Christian dominion over the lands associated with the life and death of Jesus Christ. This religious fervor served as a powerful unifying force, drawing knights, peasants, and even monarchs to the banner of the cross. However, the narrative of pure religious devotion is complicated by the intertwined ambitions of secular powers. European rulers and nobles saw the Crusades as opportunities for territorial expansion, the acquisition of wealth and resources, and the enhancement of their own prestige and influence. The lure of land ownership in the Levant, coupled with the potential for plunder and the establishment of new trade networks, proved to be a significant motivating factor for many participants. Furthermore, the Byzantine Empire's appeals for Western military assistance against the encroaching Seljuks provided a strategic context for these ambitions, albeit one that would ultimately be betrayed by the self-serving actions of some crusaders. The economic dimensions of the Crusades cannot be understated. The control of lucrative trade routes in the Mediterranean and access to the exotic goods of the East were highly coveted. Italian city-states like Venice and Genoa, in particular, played a crucial role in transporting crusaders and supplies, amassing considerable wealth and establishing vital commercial links with the East. The influx of new goods, ideas, and technologies into Europe as a result of these interactions spurred economic growth and contributed to the gradual decline of the feudal system. The consequences of the Crusades were profound and multifaceted, leaving a legacy that continues to shape perceptions and relationships between the West and the Middle East. The most immediate and tragic outcome was the immense loss of life and the perpetuation of violence and brutality on both sides. The establishment of the Crusader states in the Levant, while initially successful, proved to be a source of constant conflict and ultimately unsustainable. The Fourth Crusade, with its shameful sack of the Christian city of Constantinople, stands as a stark reminder of the corrosive influence of greed and political maneuvering that often overshadowed the initial religious aims. Beyond the immediate conflicts, the Crusades fostered a climate of increased religious hostility and suspicion between Christians and Muslims, a legacy that has been exploited and reinterpreted throughout history. The Crusades also contributed to a rise in anti-Semitism in Europe, as Jewish communities were often targeted as internal enemies during periods of heightened religious fervor. However, the impact of the Crusades was not solely one of conflict and division. The interactions between East and West, however fraught, facilitated a degree of cultural exchange. Europeans were exposed to advancements in Islamic scholarship, medicine, mathematics, and architecture, contributing to the intellectual ferment of the later Middle Ages and the Renaissance. Military innovations and the rise of powerful military orders like the Knights Templar and the Hospitallers also emerged from this period. In the long term, the Crusades played a role in the shaping of European identity, fostering a sense of shared Christian heritage against a perceived external threat. They also contributed to the consolidation of power in the hands of European monarchs and the eventual weakening of the Byzantine Empire, a pivotal event in the history of Eastern Europe. Some historians argue that the Crusades laid the groundwork for later Western expansionism and colonialism, establishing a precedent for intervention in distant lands driven by a complex mix of motives. In conclusion, the Crusades represent a pivotal era in world history, a complex tapestry woven from threads of faith, ambition, and conflict. While the initial religious fervor provided a powerful impetus, the Crusades were ultimately shaped by a confluence of political, economic, and social forces. Their legacy is a complex one, marked by both violence and exchange, animosity and influence. The echoes of the Crusades continue to resonate in the ongoing dialogue between the West and the Middle East, serving as a reminder of the enduring power of religious belief, the complexities of human motivation, and the long shadow cast by historical conflict.